So good afternoon, everyone, and welcome, Sokanha, and thank you so much for joining us today. Welcome to the Urban Design Challenge 2020 from UNDP in collaboration with the IDEAS and also Ministry of Environment as well. So a bit about the program. So we call out for innovators, designers, students, or anyone who has the interest in tackling plastic issue, waste management, to come up with a better design and a more effective design for the waste bin. And to do this, we come up with a number of journey to help our participants and potential candidates with their design and applications. So one of which is our expert session. So the expert session is the guiding session for the candidates and participants who love to join this competition. So we talk to different experts ranging from designers, social problem solvers, change maker, engineers, and also people in waste management like Ministry of Environment. So the idea is to give you more information about the challenge, to give you more perspective about what's going on in the country, specifically Cambodia, and also what's out there you can take inspiration from and how to do that design thinking approach, instrument-centered design, how to design a product, sort of things. So everybody, if you join this on live right now, feel free to raise any questions in the chat box, or at the end of the session, we will give you opportunity to ask question. But for anyone who watched this record, feel free to reach out to us later on for any questions. So let's start now with our expert in the room. So Kenya, welcome again. So before we start, maybe it's important to get to know you. So we know that you and your partners founded Eco Plastic. So we would love to hear more about that. But in case any other thing that you're doing great in social development and contributing to environment or any other sectors in Cambodia, feel free to let us know. So the chance for your introduction is here.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Uh, my name is Sokanha. I graduated from Zaman 2 years ago, majoring in civil engineering. And currently, I am working at the NUM Social Innovation Lab, which is an open platform to engage communities of students and entrepreneurs in series of event, workshop, projects, and competition.
All right. Is there anything else that you are doing, or are you still studying, or are you starting up a company, sort of things?
I am only working at NUM Social Innovation Lab and planning to do a graduate study next year.
Right, right. So yeah, thank you for the introduction. So now let's go into the main questions that we have for you. So
Okay.
yeah, we heard about ecoplastic, and we would love to hear more about that. What your inspirations and why you doing that.
Okay, so Ecoplastic, you may have heard it before, is a startup aimed to reduce plastic waste in Cambodia by replace some percentage of asphalt with plastic, and it is proven to make the road last longer, stronger, and cheaper than the conventional asphalt road. So I started with this plastic waste project in late 2016, but my first idea didn't work out. So our team pivoted to this new idea, which is plastic road, in late 2017. And the question is, how did I come up with the idea? Back then, I was sitting in the construction material class when I was a college junior. I was first introduced to asphalt, an indispensable material for the flexible road. So I know that asphalt is a polymer family composed of carbon and hydrogen, so as plastic. So I was thinking like maybe these two materials are interchangeable in some applications. So I come up with a particular solution, which is a plastic road. And to secure the R&D, the research and development of our new initiative, our team joined many business model competition in Cambodia and proceed to the Mekong Challenge in Bhutan, and also joined the international business model competition in the United States. And we won the award and got funding for our research. And not only that, and our idea was applauded by Ministry of Public Work and Transport, and he granted us access to the government lab. So from then, we built a series of prototype. So that's very much about ecoplastic.
Great. I see a lot of inspirations and enthusiasm into creating a solutions to two problems. One, building new roads with recycled material. Two, second, trying to turn waste such as plastic into something more meaningful and more useful. So yeah, I'm
Definitely.
interested to learn more about that. And I hope participants in the call and who will be watching the recording may be interested in this as well. So your background is in civil engineering, and how did you you mentioned that you were sitting in the class of civil engineering and road constructions, some sort of things, and then you come up with the idea of want to replace some sort of components or material in road constructions. So as a background in civil engineering, how do you find yourself like stuck into get into the sectors of environment, meaning that how do you find waste as a challenging issue, and how do you develop the interest into this kind of things? Like, is it because of your past experience? Is it because of like this kind of thing just pop up in your head and you have like, oh, I have an interesting idea, I want to try it out. I have the technical expertise because I'm doing civil engineering, and things just start going. Tell us a little bit more on that. How do you get yourself involved with waste management?
That's right. Yeah, my background is in civil engineering, which many people think that it's supposed to be mainly in the construction, maintenance, or transportation. But I believe that as an engineering student, you are provided opportunity to solve the problem using the engineering knowledge and create an impact. So regardless of type of engineer you are given the same fundamental technical knowledge, which is useful to apply to solve any problem, and it also provide room for the self exploration, which means that we have the foundation knowledge we can explore a lot more by ourselves. And with this philosophy, I believe that nothing is impossible as long as we are truly passionate about it. And I enjoy the engineering part of it. So I decided to expand beyond the civil engineering horizon via a plastic waste project. And you may wonder why I picked waste, right? It's not a typical one that most people are interested in. But my passion for solving plastic waste is deeply rooted from my own experience. When I lived in the Hubswell Foundation, I saw a big rubbish pile next to the dorm, and the neighboring kids were playing on every day. And I think it's not clean and safe for them. And I was questioning myself as an engineer, how could I use my engineering knowledge to turn all this unwanted plastic pile into something useful? And back then, I was crazy and brave enough to initiate a project called the Upcycler, funded
Mm.
by ACAP Phnom Penh, and during my internship there. And I spent a year with the project with the help of another intern and guidance from ACAP. And I successfully built two plastic recycling machines, which are shredder and injection molding, which is the first project that I mentioned. We failed to turn it into a social startup. And this project, we aim to turn plastic waste into the usable products such as keychains, buttons, plate, kit Legos, and so on. And as I dive deeper with the project, I gain more interest in the field because those small achievements, those small progress, keep my dream in solving plastic waste alive. So this is the journey.
Oh, interesting. So you not just started with eco plastic, you started way before that. It's
Yeah.
just another opportunity for you to try out in a more, I'll say, committed level as a startup. So I also applaud that your commitment, and also you've been to business models, meaning that you've been crafted a lot of business models, and thinking about your plan how to start that. So back to the step one, square one. So we're interested in your solid experience when you mentioned about the machine you made, and also the eco plastics products. So how do you come up with a design then, or how you start to design a product?
I think if we talk about the innovation when we design a product, I would start with the problem statement. We need to know what we are trying to solve, what problem that we are trying to solve. To me, in particular, innovative design must fulfill three different angles. First, we need to identify what the problem that we are trying to solve for, which means who is the target group, and our solution, which is let's say ecoplastic, is it technology feasible or not? And the last component is on the financial viability. So for the solution, it should have solved the real customer problem pain point. It's not only our own assumption. So we need to dive deeper into the problem using the, for example, let's say the human-centered design, create empathy map, understand of what they think, they hear, they say, and trying to identify the real problem for really specific group. And the second angle is we need to look at the technology standpoint. Designer or engineering somehow like they really enjoy the technical part of it, but is it realistic or not? Our solution. First question that we need to ask ourselves. So, so in order to design a solution that is innovative and doable, we need to think, we need to keep in mind what are the resources we have in hand, and make sure that the technology or the solution that we propose have the available resources to fulfill it. And the design should also have a value added to customer, not just the typical one, not just an existing solution that already have in our society. And the last angle that we should look at is the cost of the solution. So the innovative solution doesn't have to be fancy with all the expensive core component. Let's say if we employ the first principle thinking, we need to break down the complicated component and come up with a creative idea to customize component in which we need to lower down the cost of the solution and ultimately lead to the affordable product for our customer. So these are all the three angles that designers should keep in mind when designing a product or solve a problem. Yeah.
Very, very illustrative. I learned a lot from the breakdown and customization of your answers, meaning that you're applying both in the product design and the way you answer your question as well. So based on the number of sessions we talked to different experts and other speakers, one thing in common is identify your problem statement and the users. That is the
Yeah.
fundamental things that many people agree with, and also stated that it is the first step in designing the right product and the most effective product or services for your customer. And deep dive from that, you mentioned about the word innovations and innovative design or innovative products. So you also give us like three things coming from you, what considered to be innovative. So I just was wondering that what are not considered innovative.
What are not considered innovative? First, the model is 100% copy from other existing solution, which means that we don't have to come up with something original or completely new. Because with our capacity, we don't have the research institution to support our research, right? So the innovation here, which means that you study from other people, you study from other countries' model and use it, and maybe change some component and adapt it to the Cambodian context. If the solution is completely new here, you can we can apply the model, but just need to adjust and also adapt with the local context. And perhaps if the participant have ever heard about the SIT, which means the systematic inventive thinking, they should also try to dig deep, like what are the components that they can remove and replace with something else, or maybe they can multiply it, maybe they can subtract one component. This is all considered as innovation, which means that they don't have to come up with a completely new idea. And again, I mentioned this before, innovative solution doesn't have to cost a lot of money. It's come up with your own creativity. For example, like I mentioned, the we don't have the component that we want to that we can use in a machine, but we can customize based on what we have, use the available resource, which means innovate within the environmental constraint. What can you innovate? What can you use your uh, your resources to innovate and provide a creative solution for people?
Right, right. It looks like you have a very clear definition of what innovative and what not. So based on the eco plastic itself, we know that there's a components that to be considered innovative. For example, you using the material that is available and turn it into something that create more meaningful intervention. So plastic waste would be going to the dump field sort of things, or maybe recycling in a small scale, but it has the potential to be converted into something that offer a better service. So is there anything that you consider innovative in eco plastic?
Okay, so innovation here, when I apply, I will talk in two series. First is for my upcycle project, and the second part is for the eco-plastic project. So for the first project, how did we apply innovation in our design? First, we list down all the components we need to build the machine. And from those components, we think that what can we do to lower down the cost and use the available resources. For example, when we build a shredder machine, the blade of the shredders must be made from the hard stainless steel. But we couldn't find stainless steel machines here in Cambodia to cut those pieces of stainless steel, which means that we need to bring it to Vietnam or Thailand to do it, which costs us a lot of money. So with this constraint, we try to replace stainless steel with other material with the aluminum because it is cheap and also locally available. And we also have a CNC machine to cut aluminum, so it is doable. So even though aluminum is not a high-end premium component, but the ability to cut plastic is doable and the result is acceptable. So with the same concept, I applied for also applied for the injection molding machine. We mainly use a try and error method with different types of plastic, and sometimes even though in theory for example the melting temperature for HDPE is around 270 or in between 210 and 270, but in practice we still, if we wait until this temperature, the plastic could have been burned and turned into black, which is not acceptable. So with this observation, we need to make an adjustment. It's also applied innovation as well. And we also apply the innovation in the mold design for the injection molding machine. We try to use uh, aluminum wood white cement paste instead of stainless steel because we don't have the CNC machine to cut it. And for the eco-plastic project, for the road project, how did we apply innovation? We don't have enough equipment to test our sample in the lab. So we customize the test in open environment, which means that we are lost the control of the temperature and pressure. So we use the try and error to observe which temperature and which pressure work best in open environment. So these are sort of innovation that we apply in the project. And we need to admit that for like the innovation word is used a lot in the startup because in startup not many people believe when we are in still in the ideation stage, so we need to use little resources in order to move the project forward. For example, like eco-plastic, we don't have much resources, we don't have investment, and even though we need investment, those investment must be like in a large amount because it is a heavy in a heavy industry. So we try to customize each step, not only the material but also the equipment and stuff like that.
Great, great. Sukanya, we learned something from you as well. Try and error method. Maybe the participant can try it out and some of the methodology that Sukanya has been mentioning that could help you in the process of design. So jumping into a little bit more and bring your attention to our program, the Urban Design Challenge. So mainly we trying to design a new public urban waste bins. So meaning that we want to design a more effective waste bin that promote waste separations and more useful and more convenient for citizens to use and potentially could be the nationwide model for all waste bin out there. So based on your experience and a number of projects you've been doing, mainly handy, very handy, making the product yourself, putting things together, starting it as the business model. So based on all of this, looking at waste bins, what do you see as the challenge, or what do you see, starting with the challenge, what do you see as the challenge and difficulties in making a very innovative, and not just about innovation, but it's all about how to make it work better comparing to the current design.
Okay, so in this particular area in trash bin design, I think the most difficult challenge would be to deal with people's behavior. As we all know that even though we have a bin, but not sure that people would properly place it in the right category in the bin, and the design motivate them enough. to put it in the put trash in the bin. And also, I think another challenge would be the capacity of the bin. Sometimes people want to put trash in the bin, but the bin is already filled. So, which means the size of the bin must be big enough to accommodate large volume of waste in different locations, and also fit with the collecting schedule of the let's say century as well. And another challenge, I think, it would be the accessibility of the bin. Um, Sometimes the bin is not accessible in all locations, which means people have no choice besides just throwing it away. So if people design the smart bin, another challenge would be look at the infrastructure setup. If the smart, if how is the internet reliability and connectivity in different geographical region? For example, we design a bin but place it in a very rural area, so the internet connectivity might not work, might not be stable at all. So these are sort of, I think, challenges that designer or participant should take into account, and try to think of the solution that is affordable. Like I said before, list down all components and think of what we can customize, what we can use the available resources to design it. For example, when I designed the injection molding machine, the component of my machine, the metal, is a metal scrap, die it chai chăng. So which means that we try to innovate it with little resources. And I personally think that these are all major challenges that designers should take into account when designing the bins. Yep.
Great. That just brought me back to what you say. Innovation is not about fancy design or fancy material. Innovation can means cheaps and affordables and recycling. Using existing resources. Just want to restate this again, and that's very important in defining innovation. So because we focus on the challenges and opportunity, of course, in addressing any social issue or human issue, it's all about identify the pain point, and then there's an opportunity lies in there. So what do you see as an opportunity? As a designer, as one of the producer and designer, what do you see are the opportunity for people out there regarding the current gap or challenges in waste bin?
Okay, I think first thing is I think the competition is really good. It gives opportunity for participants to bring their innovative idea into reality. And if we look at the Cambodia context, we have a big room to innovate in trash bin, because right now we are still using the traditional one, while other country they use the advanced model already. And which means that we can still learn from those developed country in the world, and on how they manage their waste. But this doesn't mean that they have to copy 100% or replicate their model 100%. But if those solutions are new to Cambodia context, we can innovate, leapfrog, modify, and also make it adaptable to fit in the Cambodian context. And we need to identify, is the bin is for public use, or is it for household living in the flat house type or in apartment type. So I think uh, designers should identify clearly before they jump into the design. And as an engineer myself, I have always been excited and curious about new innovative technology, and I see this as an opportunity to learn and build a physical product in hand, and also have fun with it, and also seek collaboration with other passionate individuals in the plastic waste field, and also a chance to collaborate and bring our idea into public. So this is a very great opportunity for people, even though we will not be a millionaire by designing the bin, but it's very worth doing it when our idea come into reality.
Great. Thank you, Sokanha. We've been promoting innovators from our side as well. So just to let everybody know, participants in the room and also who will be watching the recordings. So innovators plays very important roles in our society, such as Sokanha coming up with the eco plastics and many others across the countries. So we need a lot of innovations in different sectors, starting from humble issues such as waste management. So can I be coming to almost an end of the list, the question that I have to prepare to ask you. So, but we have something very interesting and a little bit personal to you as well. So take away your background as civil engineering or one of the designer. So as a mere citizens, as a user, what would you want to see in the waste bin, or maybe in the new design coming out of this program? So if you have the plans, if you have the chance as well to tell designers and candidates and participants right now who will be designing later, what would you want to see in the bin?
Okay, to me, an ideal bin that I imagine would fulfill five requirements. First, the size of the bin, like I said, can accommodate enough volume of trash. And the second requirement is if it's a smart bin, it should give an alert or signal to the rubbish collector the current level of the trash bin and the time that the rubbish collector should come and pick it up. And the designer should think of the incentivized scheme to motivate people put trash in the right category. So if they do, what will they get? If not, what is going to happen? What would the bin will react to the public? And the solution must also be cheap to produce, to customize with the customized components so that every stakeholder can afford it. Because as we know that designing trash bin, trash is what people really ignore. So if the solution is too expensive, people are not gonna spend money or time or attention on it. And last but not least, it must be an attractive design. It's not. I hope it's not a traditional bin like before. Must have the attractive design. Let's say I don't want to give a too specific example, uh, but let's think about it in this way. If we want to accommodate the enough volume of trash, and we think that the volume must be very big, right? And we don't want to build a very big bin, put it in public because it look not good, and also we want to save space as well. Think of it in this way: how can we dig underground and have a small hole, and also put trash into that as well, and then the smart bin will alert the plastic collector to come when the underground bin is fulfilled. So this kind of the solution that I imagine and can think of, but there are many more solutions and room to innovate out there. So just play around with it, come up with as many ideas as possible, and brainstorm and think of like criteria to evaluate which solution is more ideal and which more like implementable for public.
Thank you, Sukanya, for sharing your ideal West Beans. So we have a question coming out from the participant asking from Sophia, what is smart bean? So I think I'd love to share some of the thought from the program as well. So just to let everybody knows and clarify as well. So the design is the criteria to be designed is uploaded on Facebook, and based on that criteria, we leave a lot of space for the design to be either using technologies or using non-technologies in the bin itself. So please go to that criteria. And if you still have any question, feel free to message UNDP Facebook page or reach out to us. But the question from Sophia here may also refer to what Sukanya mentioned about smart bin. So I would leave this to Sukanya to mention what you define as smart bin as well.
Okay, so to me, by maybe the name itself imply to what it means. Smart bin, which means we employ technology in order to alert the rubbish collector, or maybe use sensor to recognize what type of plastic, what type of material that placed into the bin in order to categorize into different compartment. So these are all called smart bin. And for example, let's say we use with the internet connection, or maybe the smart bin run by itself by the solar panel on the top of it. We don't need to connect it with the electricity, the conventional source of electricity. These are all considered as smart bin. But like he said, that your design doesn't have to be a smart bin. It's just one of the type of the bin that I mentioned, but you can use a conventional bin but with a creative design.
Great. Just want to echo that to what Sukanya just mentioned. Participants and potential candidates. So the design can be smart or non-smart, technological or not technological. So it's all up to you to come up with that. So feel free to exercise the space we give. And if anything not clear, do reach out to us. So Kenya, we also have another questions coming out from the participant as well. So Liz, if I pronounce your name correctly or incorrectly, please uh, uh, accept my apology. So in terms of context in Cambodia, do you think the way to promote bean installation can help to reduce waste scatter in public place or in public area?
I think yes, definitely yes. But the thing is, when we promote it, are people going to follow it? People will change their behavior and put it in the right category or not, or place it in the bin or not. Sometimes as we think that it's linked to knowledge, but sometimes people we see a lot of cases that even though people with the high knowledge with good background or something like that, but they still place waste outside the bin. And why they do that? Because there's a lot of constraint, like I said. Maybe the bin is not accessible in all places. Maybe the size is small and people see the bin is filled. They are lazy to go to different places to put it in the bin. They just put it next to the bin that is filled filled with waste. So it all starts with people behavior, and I believe that people will change their behavior if something that they can benefit from it. So for example, if we just ask them to put waste in the bin in order to make the environment cleaner, people might not be motivated enough to do it, because the thing that if they just do it alone, it's not going to affect the whole environment. But people, maybe we need to think, the designer need to think of the incentivized scheme. What will they get in term in exchange to putting waste in the bin in the right category. So these are all incentive scheme that we can link in order to make the solution effective.
Thank you for the answer. Participants, I hope Sukanya answered your question. Just to add more to that, we understand that waste challenges in Cambodia is a complex issue, it's a systematic issue. So starting from A to Z, we need multiple solutions to solve everything that are in line with these challenges. So creating the waste bin or creating a more effective waste bin is part of the solutions. So one single solution may not answer or may not solve every single issue in this waste management system. So starting with the waste bin, we hope that the more effective design can help promote waste separations and also encourage more people to use the bin as well. And starting from there, we need to do a lot of campaign, like Sukanya mentioned, to ensure that participants, citizens, users, are well informed and also properly use the bin as it should be as well. So participants,
And
if there are any other questions, please feel free to raise it in the chat, either in English or Khmer. Apologize if I missed to mention this. Or if you have any question, please feel free to raise either in English or in Khmer. So Kenya, you were saying something?
Yes, back to the previous question. I was thinking like, um, when I designed the recycling project, I identified two different category of plastic. One is the existing plastic that we have on our planet, and the second part is the new plastic consumption. And if you ask, what can we do? What is the solution toward the existing plastic that we have on our planet, and the solution for the new plastic consumption? For new plastic consumption, we can try to find a solution to change people behavior to consume less plastic, to recycle more, not single use of plastic. And but for the existing plastic waste, we need to find technology in order to convert plastic into something else.
Thank you for the extra comments on that. We have another question from Sophia as well. How to manage waste in rural community effectively? So yeah, would you love to take this?
Hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. We have another questions in the chat box. So in case you would love to share your idea as well, how to manage waste in rural community effectively.
How to manage waste in rural community effectively. Uh, we need to start with people behavior as well. And sometimes people have no choice but to place plastic waste everywhere, to place waste everywhere because they don't have a proper plastic waste management. So I think it all starts with the with our local government first to have a proper waste management, place for people to throw trash away, and not only them, but from our side as a citizen, as a local citizen, we need to follow their plan. Their solution alone cannot work without our action.
Thank you for that. So perhaps the question is more in general, and specifically, we love to share just some of the thinking coming out from us. Some of the things that Sokanha already mentions, and tackling issue at rural community level require different understanding of the issue, and also it's quite contrasting to what we're trying to solve at the public place in Phnom Penh and city and urban areas. So we hope this answered your question as well. And if you still have any other question related to designing the right waste bin for public space in city, please feel free to raise it in the chat. All right. I don't think there's any more questions coming out from the participants for you. So I'd love to give the last 2 to 3 minutes for you to say anything you love to share about your work, or to convey to the participants and the potential candidates in our design challenge. Here's your floor.
Okay. Personally, I really encourage people to pay more attention to plastic waste issue because it is a systematic issue, not only Cambodia, um, people and also country all around the world trying to tackle with plastic waste. And here in this particular design challenge, this is the opportunity for you to innovate and bring your idea into reality. And trust me, it's very it's the real happiness when you see your idea turn into reality and you can touch it, you can feel it, and you're gonna learn a lot from the process when you innovate. For example, in forming a team and brainstorm, discuss, and you also meet with a lot of people like government officials, handle the waste management, NGOs, and other type of institution in the related issues. So you learn a lot and connect with a lot of people with this, with share with you this, with share with the same passion. And not only that, for the technical part, the engineering part, you will also learn a lot as well. For example, before I do the before doing the eco plastic project, I may not will never talk to the leather shop Chiang Kalang, but in this particular project, I talk a lot to this type of people, even though they are not really educated and they are not engineering, but we need to explain the technical term or the technical explanation to a normal one, not with non-engineering background. So this type of challenge that the designer and engineering enjoyed in the process as well. So I highly recommend everyone to join, and feel free to approach me if you have any question, because I'm always excited and passionate about plastic waste issue and really happy to contribute if you have any question or doubt.
Thank you, and that's a huge offerings to the participant. Like open the floor to ask question and approach Kanya on a separate channels. But I hope that's not too much for you. And participant, thank you for joining us today. And if you still have any questions, feel free to reach out to our Facebook page and the website as well. And we would love to hear and to see your submissions in the coming weeks. And again, oh, sorry, we have the last question from Super as well. Can we share document on waste management? So I'm thinking that you're referring to any extra document that can help you on waste management. Definitely, we can share on the Facebook page. Also, there's a lot of document available at the Ministry of Environment website as well. So we will definitely reshare that any document that relevant to the design. All right. Thank you, everybody, and thank you again, Sokanha. And we wish you all the best, and hope to see everybody in the challenge. Bye bye. Good day.
Bye bye. Good day.